Okay, my Navy career started in '52 as the Navy had a Navy Reserve over in Portsmouth. So I joined the Naval Reserve, and at that time, Korea was going on in a full-blown war. It started in 1950. So I graduated from high school in '52, but I was a member of the reserve. So in time, the world uh, situations in the world got heated up, and I was called up on active duty in 1957. So I served active duty on a ship from '57 to '59. So I was sent to Norfolk, Virginia. And Norfolk, Virginia, they would assign you to a ship. And I happened to be assigned to a destroyer. A destroyer is a small, very capable ship, and it's very maneuverable. So I was assigned to the USS Rich DDE 820. DD is designation for destroyer. It's a code, and E was that it was an escort. So I was on the ship, and the ship was assigned to go to the Mediterranean because they would send the ships different areas, and at that time there was difficulties. It was kind of a heated thing started around Beirut, Lebanon. Now, in 1950, they had the Korean War, and in '57, '58, they had a heated area in the Mediterranean area. So it wasn't really a full-blown war. It's just that we patrolled the Mediterranean. We protected a carrier, the USS Saratoga, which was coded CBA, designation for a carrier, 60, which was the number. And in our squadron, there were 6 destroyers. I was on the Rich. So we patrolled the Mediterranean. We had gone to, we stopped at France, and we stopped at Italy, and we went all the way down to around Turkey. And we just mainly just patrolled the Korean or the Mediterranean area. Well, anyway, in '58, we came around Beirut, Lebanon, and we had been patrolling for several weeks, just on their cruise, back and forth, back and forth. Well, we finally came down to Palma, Spain. And Palma, Spain was down towards the Atlantic Ocean. It was on the western part of the Mediterranean, so we weren't really doing anything other than just patrolling. And as a break, we tied up. In other words, tied up means that the ships went in and tied up at the docks. We weren't patrolling. Sort of a little bit of relaxation. So we were tied up in Palma, Spain. And there happened to be a big parking lot where people parked, and it also military vehicles were stored. So we decided to have a ball game. And we had a baseball game going in this big field or big parking area. And I was catching. Well, a guy popped the ball up. And I backed up, and I backed right off the pier and hit the side of the ship with my head, and it went down in the water between the ship and the pier. And the water was pretty deep, I don't know, maybe 30 to 50 feet. It's Mediterranean, it was deep water, and I ended up unconscious down in the water. And nobody really was aware that I had gone off the pier except one man, and he was playing center field. And his name was Michael Arenado. He was a crew member on our ship. He was a first class gunner's mate. And when I went off the pier and disappeared between the ship and the pier, he ran from center field through the infield and jumped in and pulled me out. Now, on our ship, we had a corpsman. He was the medical man. And of the 6 ships, we did have a doctor who was on the command ship. And if something really came up, we had a carrier which we protected, and they had a helicopter. They could come over and pick up somebody and take them to the carrier. But anyway, I was unconscious down in the water, and he pulled me out. Well, they took me aboard our ship, and they were going to check me out. So the doctor was called, and he was on the front ship, and he came back and checked me over. And the carrier, was anchored out, and a carrier is a big ship that they can just about do anything. For example, today they have hospital operating rooms like we have in big cities. So they checked me over, and it didn't seem like I had a skull fracture or I was hurt badly, other than just getting knocked out and going into the water. So they told the carrier, we are not going to send him over to the carrier because we're just going to leave him here. It's really not that major a deal that we feel. So I stayed on the ship. And the doctor of our squadron, he said, what I'm going to do, just to be safe, I'm going to give him a week off of work. So for a week, I kind of took it easy to make sure that there was no hidden injury. And so I would lie in my bunk at 6 o'clock when everybody was getting up to go to breakfast and to work. I kind of took it easy. And for 1 week, I kind of recovered, although it wasn't really major. Well, anyway, that was the adventure that I had. And of course, they kidded me about it, and I never told my wife. I never wrote it in a letter, but somebody wrote and told them about me falling in the Mediterranean. And I hit the side of the ship, and I was unconscious, and that kind of upset her, and when I got back, I had to tell her all about it. But that was my venture in the Mediterranean. But really, I just backed up, hit the side of the ship, was unconscious, went down in a deep section of the Mediterranean. In fact, I had hadn't realized that I had disappeared between the ship and the pier, I probably would still be in the Mediterranean.